What's going on, everybody? Big C 90210, and I'm back again. Right, so one of my biggest videos on YouTube so far was the how to install a 7 days to die dedicated server. Now, it's been a while. Alpha 12 is out, and the fun pimps have changed the way servers are created slightly. Well, enough for me to make a new video. So, what we're going to be covering today is how to install a server, how to configure a server, how to find your save games, how to find your admin file. Basically, all this stuff on the left here is what we're going to be covering today. Yeah, so I have a virtual machine here. I'm going to be showing you everything you need to know on how to set up and get your 7 days to die server up and running. Few things I want to get over first. Please, if you like this video, I need you to share the hell out of it. That's the only way I get found, is by you guys liking the video, sharing the videos. If you are stuck, leave me a comment. I'm very, very good, I'd like to say, at helping you guys through when you get stuck. But if I don't cover something, or if you've got a question, just throw me a comment in the comments below. If there's something in this video that I don't cover, or you've got stuck on something, look in the comments, because 9 times out of 10, that's how you will get helped. Okay, so first things first, here is our server machine, and this is going to be hosting our 7 days to die server. Now, all it is, it's a bog standard Windows 7 installation, but this will work on Windows 8. So there's a few things we're going to have to download and get installed first for everything to work. I'm also going to be showing you how to install Allocs fixes and how to use FRONTRUNNERTEKS Server Manager. Shout out to FRONTRUNNERTEK, you're a hero, and shout out to Alloc, you are also a hero. So all of these links here you will find in the comments of this video. I apologize if my cursor keeps disappearing like that. It's just because me running a virtual machine in a window kind of thing. But we're just going to have to suck that up. So, okay, first thing we're going to do is we're going to get the .NET framework. So you want to be going to this link here. I can just control and click it. I'm just going to close all this down. So this is the first link. You want to be downloading the Microsoft .NET Framework installer, because that is what FRONTRUNNERTEKS Server Manager uses. Now you can download this file. I've already installed it on this machine, but you would press run, and when it's there, you just install it. Okay, so that one is pretty straightforward. I'm not going to hold your hands through that because these are big boys and girls. Okay, next up, we've got WINRAR. We've got WINRAR, the piece of software that nobody buys, but everybody uses. So I'm just going to copy and paste that link, and we are going to go here, and we are going to get this version of WINRAR, and we are going to install it the same way we install everything else. So now that we've installed WINRAR, that's 2 out of the 4 things done. So we're going quite quickly here, but don't forget you can pause this video, and I don't want to bore your ass by showing you how to install WINRAR. Okay, so next up we've got FRONTRUNNERTEKS Server Manager. Now this is where stuff gets juicy, so I'm just going to copy this link and then paste it in here. So the version that I'm going to be using is 1.0.6.7. Now it's probably going to be a later version by the time you get this, because FRONTRUNNERTEK's a good guy and he releases quite often. So I'm just going to run this, and when this is downloaded, I'm just going to install it. Okay, don't forget, people, if you are curious to what I want to be showing you, here is the list of stuff. So at the minute, we've just done the intro blurb. We haven't really done the intro blurb. While this is installing, I'm going to give you a little bit more. So just going to press yes, 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 install. I'll have a desktop icon. I like it. So installing this. Don't forget, people, I actually run my own server, which if you search for Big C 90210 in the server listing, whoa, this requested operation requires elevation. Did you see that? Now this is the first thing. So now that we've installed this, we must run it as administrator in order for it to work. Now, in order to do that, you would right click on it and say run as administrator, but we're not going to run it just yet. Okay, so next up is Allocs fixes, which will come in handy at the end of this tutorial. So I'm just gonna go here. And by the way, the reason why we downloaded WINRAR before was because you need WINRAR in order to unpack these files. Now this is what the web page looks like, but you just scroll down and you just want to download the latest build. Now, I'm going to say this once, I say it a fucking 100 times, and I'm going to say it this time, it's going to be the 101st time. Every single update for 7 Days to Die requires a new version of these files, okay? So if you're on 12.1 and 12.2 comes out, you need to go and get the latest version of this files. The previous version will not work, okay? Even if it's just a small update. Even if it's like version 12.2.2 and you've just updated from 12.2.1, okay? You need to get the newest version of this file. So pretty much out of the bookmarks, out of these links, you want to be bookmarking these bottom two, because obviously this one will get you the latest version of the server manager, even though it does update on its own. It's always handy to have the link. And this one is what you will need after each version of updating your server files. Okay. Next up, we need to go to Steam. We need to go to library. 1,000 games! And you don't actually go to games, you go to tools. Now, at the top of your tools list, or somewhere near the top, you will have 7 Days to Die Dedicated Server. So you simply right-click, install, next, 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 and that installs, okay? I'm not going to assume that you're an idiot and you don't know how to install that. Okay, so while this is downloading in the background, actually it's going to download pretty quickly. I'm going to start to show you some of the changes. I can get rid of this now because we don't need this anymore. So I can delete this note. Okay, the first thing about 7 Days to Die since Alpha 12 is that save games are no longer stored inside your documents folder. Okay, they have now been moved to the app data folder. Now, if you go to computer and see users, and whichever user you're logged in as, so I'm Big C, they should be stored in here in a folder called App Data. Now then, here's the dealio. By default, Windows does not have this folder shown. It's a hidden folder. So what you have to do is, I'm just going to close this window, you'll have to go into your control panel, set this as large icons or small icons. I'll set it as large just so you guys can see. You go to folder options, you go to view, and then you go show hidden files, folders, and drives, and you press apply, and then OK. So now what happens when we go back into this Big C folder that we had open, you can see that app data is there. Okay. When you go inside of app data, there's another folder called roaming. And inside of here is where your 7 Days to Die Dedicated Server Save Games folder will appear. Now the problem we've got so far is it's not actually there. Okay, it's not there yet. It appears there when you start the dedicated server for the first time. Alright, so meanwhile, back at the ranch, we're going to have a look over here and we're going to see that our 7 Days to Die dedicated server has been installed. If you go to properties and you go to local files and browse local files, it just takes you straight to where it's been installed to, which is usually C program files, blah 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 blah. So to make this easier for us, what we're going to do is we're just going to go up a folder and we're just going to make a shortcut to this folder on the desktop. Okay, so right click, send to desktop, which creates a shortcut. So now we've got a little shortcut folder here. Now we've got a little shortcut folder here, which we can use to get straight into our dedicated server folder. Alright, so we've just done the unhide. We've just found the saves folder, which isn't actually there yet, but it's inside of roaming. It's going to appear here soon. And the admin file is going to be inside of here. The admin file is what you use for setting permissions. So that's like who's banned on your server, who's not banned on your server, who's an admin on your server, what permissions you have. I've also done a video explaining thoroughly how the admin file works and how to use it. If you click my face for, say, the next 10 seconds or so, it will just take you straight there. So yeah, so what we're up to next is config the server, okay? So in order to config the server, I've just realized one more program that I have not got yet, which I'm going to download this just because it's nice and fast and easy. It's called Notepad++, Notepad++, and all it does is it makes editing text files a lot easier on the eyes. So we'll just go to download, press the box, press run, English, please, agree. We're just going to install this. It's just basically just like normal Notepad, but it's a bit sexier. Okay. Right, so now that I've just installed that, we have our server config file. When I right click on it, I can edit in Notepad++. And oh my god, look at this. It's all nice and color coordinated. So now that we're in here, let's just set ourselves up a bog standard game server. Okay, so my game host, I would call this something like Big C's Badass Server. Okay, here's where you would set a server password. Here's where you would set how many players can connect to your server. You can give it a description, so you could say, everyone welcome PvP, PvP, PMP, PvP, there we go. And if you want, you can give yourself a server website URL. So mine is northernland.co.uk/72d. The reason why you would put this in is, just as an example, if you put this into, say, a web browser, this is the URL that you can give to people for your site. So as an example, mine's loading up, and this is the little web page that I've made for my server, and it shows you how many people are online, it shows you what version of the alpha I'm running, it shows you what ports I'm running on, I've got my rules, I've got my settings, and also as well there would be the server map here, which is actually, it's as in Internet Explorer 8 is a bucket of shit. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you what this looks like on a real browser. So I'm just loading this up on my actual PC. It's taking very long. But yeah, as we scroll down, hey, look, here is our server map. And again, if you don't know how to set this up, I've already explained in a different video. I will put the link for that video in the description for this. Or if you want, you can just look through my other videos. I show you how to do this. So yeah, all this is a basic web page with links to my server so people can have a look. I've also got a Mumble server if you guys want to come on and have a chat. So yeah, that's why you would use this portion here. Next up, we choose what kind of game world we want. Do we want Naves game? If we wanted this to be a random gen world, we would say random space gen. And then next, we would give it a game name. This game name is the identity seed for the map. So as an example, say if you called it testicles, okay, what would happen is if later down the line you made another save game called testicles again, the map would be identical. Not the POIs, not the points of interest necessarily on it, but the actual terrain would all be the same. So some people tend to share these. If you found a really cool map where there's loads of different biomes all scattered around all very nicely, it's good because it means you can use this name over and over again. So game difficulty, I'm not going to go through all this shit because we don't need to. You can set this to be whatever you like. The bits that interest us here is control panel enabled. Now this is the web control panel. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to set this to true. Okay, and the port is set to 8080. The password is set to change me with all capital letters, but we should probably be changing that to something else. But I'm not going. I'm going to change it to balls 123. Okay. Telnet enabled, yes. Telnet port is 8081, and Telnet password, we're going to change that to balls123 as well. I mean, to be honest, I wouldn't keep these two the same, but for this demonstration, I'm going to. Now, Allocs mapping uses the port, which is 2 plus whatever this value is. Whatever your web panel is, it's 2 plus. So, if mine is 8080, then it means the map is going to be displayed on 8082. Now, more on that later on, but we're just putting that out there for now so you guys learn what it is. Anyway, as you scroll down, there's more shit that you can change here. But when you're finished with this, just press save, and then we can close that down. Okay, so just like I was saying to you guys before, in this roaming folder, I'm just going to split this half and half here. In this roaming folder, there's actually no 7 Days to Die folder yet. And the reason for that is because we haven't started the server. So when you start the server for the first time, which I'm just running via here, it says press a key to continue, or I can wait 10 seconds. Oh, ho, ho, did you see it appear? There we go. So I've just pressed that so it disappears. You can tell your server is running because if you go into Task Manager, go on to Processes, and if you sort by memory, you can see that there is a process here using about half a gig of RAM. And sure enough, that's our server setting itself up for the first time. Okay. Now, in the background, Windows has just kicked in and it's just said, "Hey, do you want the firewall to block this?" And it's like, no, actually, we want this to be allowed so that people from the external world can communicate with it. Okay, now more on that after this. I will show you exactly what you need. I've already done tutorials on how to connect from the outside world. But now that if you wait about a minute or 2 minutes, then it gives the server a chance to set up properly. Okay, so now it's kind of idling around 760 megish, so that's the server up and running. Okay, so technically, that's all you need to do. You could connect to the server now, and it would just be a game of 7 Days to Die. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to end this, which you probably shouldn't do, but all I'm doing is terminating the server. So now we have a 7 Days to Die folder inside of roaming. So actually what I'm going to do is, just like before, I'm going to go back a folder. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to go from roaming. I'm going to send a link to the desktop. So now on the desktop, we should have 2 folders. And I'm going to rename this one to Saves folder. And I want to rename this one to Server folder. And this is just so that I know if I open up this one, it's where all my server files are, my prefabs and all that jazz. And if I open this one, it's where my save games are. Okay? So now, since we've started our server, it's actually created a save game. So now when we go into saves, if you look, you see we're in the roaming, 7 Days to Die, saves. We've got a folder here for random gem, which is where all of our random gem worlds will be stored. Now, if I was to go into server config and say, as an example, I hadn't chosen random gen and I chose Naves game, and I'm just going to give this a different name. So this one's called Testicles 2. So now, if I start the server again, it should create a new folder in here. Did I remember to save that server config file there? Yes, I did. Ah, there we go. It was just me. It was busy starting up. So now all of our Naves game related worlds will be inside of here. Oh, there it is, Testicles 2. And all of our random gem worlds will be in here. We see Testicles 1. And you can go in there and you can see all the region files and stuff like that. Okay, so one thing you have to notice is we also have our server admin file, which if we right click on here and open, we can see here is where we would put our permissions, here is where we would put the Steam ID for our admins and what permission level they have, and here is where we would also ban people. Okay, we put our Steam thingies, their Steam IDs in there. So, we're actually doing pretty good now. So now our server is running, and it's running on Naves game, but it doesn't make a difference. If you wanted just random gen, that would work just as easy. So where are we up to now? We are up to set up the server manager. Okay, now I'm just going to close this down, and I'm going to right click. Remember, before when I tried opening this, I got a badass message saying you haven't ran this as administrator, but I'm just going to actually close this back down and show you what to do if you keep getting that message persistently. Waiting for it to load. This would probably not load correctly if you hadn't installed the .NET framework. So I'm just going to quickly close that. What you can do is you can right click on it and go to properties, and under compatibility you can say run this program as an administrator. Press apply and then OK. And it just means that every time you double click on it, it always runs it as administrator, and it just saves you a fucking headache. Okay, so let's just open this up. Please remember, if you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and tell your mom. So it has opened in a minute. Come on, you, behave yourself. Alright, so here now we need to go to server settings, and this is where we start plumbing the various aspects of our server into here. Okay, now game server folder is, to be honest, it's this folder here. It's the first one we opened up. Okay, so the easiest way for us to get this link, can we right click on it in properties? Yeah, so we don't want the double quotes, but we want everything else in here. So make sure you don't get the double quotes. And I want to right click and copy, and oops, I closed that server manager down. I probably shouldn't have done that. So we're just getting that link just to save us from having to dig through all of our folders. Okay, so back on server settings, game server folder, and we can right click and paste. Game server executable. Now if we press browse, actually one sec, can we paste that in again? No, we can't paste that in again. What we can do is we can go into this folder, in 7 days to die server.exe, we can properties. Actually, yes, it is the same thing. So what we can do is we can paste in the same link as before, and then we can put a backslash, which is the one next to Z, which leans that way, and then we can just copy and paste the name of this file in. So dirt.exe. Okay. Game server config is exactly the same thing. So we're just gonna copy the link to the folder in, and then what's it called? It's called server config. So server config.x, M for mother, L for Lima. Alright, now here's where it gets a little bit tricky. Okay, so it doesn't really get tricky, I'm just fucking with you, but game server world folder. Okay, now this is basically it's saying where is your save game for this. Now we need to press browse, and again it's in computer, C, users, big C, app data, roaming, 7 days to die, saves. Now we're using Naves game here, but it would have been just exactly the same, and our game is called Testicles 2. Okay, so we click on that and then we click OK. So now we have plumbed in the 4 main elements in order to get this server running. Sorry guys, I've got an itchy arse here. So that is the first section complete. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. We can have launch unload ticked if you like. You can tick, I would personally tick enable crash detection because it's quite handy. Now the next thing is we choose whether to connect via telnet or web console. Now if you have problems connecting via telnet, then try and connect via web console, okay? And if you have problems with web console, try connecting with telnet. And if you have problems with both, then you've fucking done something wrong. Okay, so what we're going to need open is our server config file that we had open before. So I'm just going to say right click and edit with notepad, and I'm just going to pull it over to the side so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to make this a bit wider, and I'm going to scroll down a bit. Okay, so control panel enabled refers to the web console. Okay, so if you look in here for the web console, the port is 8080. So I'm just going to change this to an 8080. And the control panel password is balls123 with balls being in lowercase. So I'm going to go BALLS123 and I'm going to press return. Password encrypted and saved. Okay, so that should be it. That should be our server up and running. Well, it's not up and running, but we should now be able to launch this server from this point and connect to it. Okay, so in order just to test this, I'm going to open up Task Manager. Oop, the server's still running from before, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the process. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to press Start Game Server, which should launch the server for us. So I'm going to press Start. And then as we can see, the server has just been launched. Okay. Now, like I say, 7 Days to Die servers take around 10 or 15 seconds to start up. Usually you can tell when the memory hits around 750 meg. And this is hitting 800 meg, but that's fine. Okay, so now that we've given this a few seconds to get fully up and running, we should be able to press connect. Oh, and as you can see, it's connected and it's logged in. Okay, now in a few seconds, the game will be able to tell, oh, there we go, it's worked out that there's nobody in the game, and these will start populating, well, frames per second and total players online. But that is your server up and running, okay? So we've just covered how to set up the server manager, and we've just done how to start the server and connect to it. Okay, next up is how to install Allocs mapping and server fixes, okay? So in order to do this, we must stop the server, okay? If you're going to fuck on with Allocs mapping and the server fixes, you must stop the server. All right. So in order to do that, now that we've got our nice little control panel, I can press stop. And in the background, you will see, hey, the server has just stopped. Okay. So I'm just going to minimize everything for now. And we're going to install Allocs server fixes. Now, where we want to be is we want to be in our server folder. So I'm just going to open this up. Now, before we downloaded Allocs server fixes, which again I will say one more time, you must download the latest version per folder per version. So if you're on 13.4 and version 13.5 comes out, you need the newest version of Allocs server fixes. The previous version will not work. Okay, so you double click on here, and inside of here you will see there's a folder called mods. All you need to do is drag mods out of here and into your 7 Days to Die folder. That's it. Seriously, that is it. You've now installed Allocs fixes. You used to have to copy over multiple files and shit like that, but you don't need to do that anymore. All you need to do is drag the mods folder into the root of your 7 Days to Die dedicated server folder, and that is it. Okay? So, yeah, pretty much that's it. So now, when we go back to the server manager, I'm just going to open this up here. When we press Start Game Server, we'll see the server starting to appear here. There it is. And it now means that when the server is up and running, we will now have Allocs fixes installed. So now that the server's been up and running a few seconds, I'm just going to connect to it. We've logged straight in. It's detected a few things here. World is Navas gain. It's called Testicles 2. It's survival multiplayer. It's detected Allocs fixes. And there are no players online. And yeah, that's it. So now people connect. Well, now my server is completely playable. There should be nothing stopping me at all from joining in the server and playing now. So what I'm actually just going to quickly do is I'm going to jump on. And I'm going to quickly run about so that some people appear on the map. Well, so that the map appears. Now, in order to get to the map, one sec, I'm just going to appear as offline before I get spammed. Now, in order to view the map, you go to http://localhost : and then it is 8082. Reason why it's 8082 is because it is 2 more than this value. So as an example, if you've changed yours to 8088, then this would be 8090. Okay, but as mine's not that, as mine is 8080, it means that when I go to 8082, it should load up. There we go. Oh, bollocks. Fucking yeah. Well, do not try looking at the map with Internet Explorer 8 because it's a right parcel of shit. But here is where your server map would be. Okay, now I have wrote a separate tutorial on how to expose your server to the world via port forwarding. And in the same way that you would port forward your server, you would port forward your map's IP address, which would be 8082 in this case, in exactly the same way. And then when people put your Allocs map URL into the browser, it will display the map. So that is how you install your 7 Days to Die server. Now, like I say, it will be much easier for you guys because you won't be running it in a virtual machine, and you should now just be able to give your external IPs to your friends once you've set up port forwarding. Now, okay, I'm just going to close some of this down. And I'm just going to bring in my list of stuff. So we've installed Allocs mapping and the server fixes. Oh, another thing as well, while you've got this open, you can make this a bit wider. You can go to Allocs mapping, and you can see it automatically detects the port. You just have to press reload. And then there it is there. Your map will appear here as people go on the server. There's tons of stuff in here which I'm not going to go into. You can just explore them. I'll probably make a separate video on how to do those and what each of them do. So here's where I need to tell you some other shit. Where are we up to? What to do each time you update 7 Days to Die. Now, a few things here. You do not need to have Steam running on the server machine. Okay? So as an example, I've got Steam running on here. I can simply exit Steam and my server continues to run fine. Okay. In fact, now that I've installed the server, I don't even need Steam to be running in the first place. So if I stop the server, one sec, let's just verify that that has stopped. Yes. I can start the server without Steam being running. So I only need one copy of 7 Days to Die because you get the server for free. I only need one copy of 7 Days to Die in order to get the server admin files, in order to run the server dedicated server files, in order to host my own server. So if I had 2 computers, I could log in on Steam, install the server on one, run it, obviously don't have Steam running, and then go onto my other PC and play it. How to open your ports so that people from externally can access your server and play on your server. I have wrote the absolute ultimate 7 days to die networking tutorial. Okay, if you go to how do you spell youtube.com, and if you search for Big C 90210 ultimate networking, there it is, 7 days to die ultimate networking guide. It's a 4-parter. Start with part 1, go to part 2. To be honest, you don't need part 3 and parts 4, but parts 1 and parts 2, if you guys just watch that video, you will know everything you ever needed to know about how to set up networking for 7 days to die. Okay, so what to do each time you update 7 days to die. You should, because your server machine will not have Steam running, it means that when a new version of 7 days to die comes out, you will have to open Steam on it and then it will update. Okay, but this is good. Now, some of you guys will be going, I want my server to update automatically. If you want your server to update automatically, that's fine. But personally, I don't want that to happen. The reason being is if you're going to update your version of 7 days to die, take a copy of your server config file, just in case the new version wipes out your old version and you lose all your stuff. Again, take copies of things like prefabs. Inside of the config folder, you want to take a copy of all these, just in case you've got tons of custom, well, obviously put them in a folder so they're all nice and neat. So we'll just call these 7 days to die server master files, and then we can just dump all the shit in here. And it just means that if you've spent ages customizing all your items and loot and recipes and things like that, and a new version comes along, it's going to blow away all your recipes. You know what I mean? So at least you want an easy way of being able to get your files back in there. So everybody should have one of those. So yeah, and of course, every time there's a new version of 7 days to die released, get the latest version of Allocs fixes from the site. Do not use the version that you currently have. Okay, so yeah, that's 6. I've just talked about 7. If you need to know how to do this, go and watch my Ultimate Networking Guide. Troubleshooting tips, again, look in the comments of this video. If there is something going wrong and it's not covered by this video, look in the comments, because if you're experiencing it, someone else is going to experience it. Put a comment up there saying something helpful. Give me as much information as possible. So if you put a comment up saying it doesn't fucking work, then I'll probably just block you because you're a dickhead. If you say something like, Big C, I got to this point and then this bit doesn't work for me, or I can't find this folder in Windows 7 or in Windows XP or whatever, then that's information that I can help with. You know what I mean? If you're just going to come on and bitch and whine, fuck all I can do to help. So, couple of frequently asked questions here. Can you run a dedicated server and a copy of 7 Days to Die on the same PC? The answer is yes. But if I were you, I would start the dedicated server first and then run the copy that you're going to play on afterwards. Again, another frequently asked question, what am I going to be doing? Am I going to be making more videos? Of course I want to be making more videos. I just need time to do it because I write for etechnics.com now. I'm a hardware writer for them. Go and check out some reviews on there. I'm going to be showing you guys lots of small tutorials on how to mod different bits here and there, how to do things like change the weather, how to edit the XML files, how to make new items and all that kind of shit. So please look through my other videos. I'm only going to be making these kind of videos if you guys like and share them. Otherwise, there's no point in me making them. If you see this video on Steam, please give it a thumbs up. Please share it with your friends and stuff like that. But yeah, so I mean, at this time of writing, Alpha 12's just came out, okay? But if Alpha 13 comes out and there's a very small difference, or if Alpha 14's came out and you're going through here and something doesn't quite look right, or say a FRONTRUNNERTEKS happens to have changed these around, you know what I mean? Do a little bit of exploring. You might change this so stuff may be in a different place or something like that. But stuff's gonna be, if you try and work it out for yourself, it's not gonna be that difficult. But anyway, guys, I'm Big C90210. Come on my server, come on in. Water's ripe. The more people on, the more the merrier. It's PvP. Come and kick some ass. And yeah, I shall see you guys next time.